What's up, guys? Hopefully you won your matchups. Hopefully you are still in it and you can still make the playoffs. Let's try to find some running backs, too. We're going to talk about 5 running backs that are being included in a lot of trades. This is based on fantasy calc data. They basically just listen to all the different leagues across Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo. These are the most traded running back. And I want to talk about whether we should be buying them or selling them, man. So we're going to start here with Breece Hall, guys. He is one of the most traded players, obviously, for good reason. He just had like 31 fantasy points. Listen, I'm probably biased here. I'm going to take this all with a grain of salt. I'm an Isaiah Davis bag holder, so I'm somebody who kind of wants to see Breece Hall traded in real life. I'm not talking about fantasy football. He had a vintage game in week 8. 2 rushing touchdowns. He threw a touchdown to Mason Taylor. First time he's had over 16 fantasy points this entire season, man. I guess the Cincinnati Bengals are just they're Pepto-Bismol, right? They're going to help any team do well, right? Miami, Dallas, Cincinnati. These are 3 teams that if your team is struggling, call 1-800, Bengals defense, right? Because they are absolutely atrocious. And he had 21 touches in this game, man. He looked phenomenal. Carried them to a victory. It was their first victory of the season. The Jets are still 1-7. Heading into the bye week in week 9. Pretty much the entire season, man, there have been rumors about him being traded. You guys can just go on Twitter and check it out. Tons of rumors, right? Insiders, NFL GMs, everybody's saying that teams are calling, asking about Breece Hall, and nothing has materialized, man. But this is just how things go. Do teams usually want to wait until the trade deadline? That's when the leverage is the highest. So for anybody who wants a little bit more context, I was looking up, like, when do trades usually happen? Why do they always happen at the end of the deadline? Like, why don't teams make plays for good players earlier? Like, I just don't get it, right? And it's all about leverage. Basically, if you're the selling team and you're trying to sell players, they're waiting until the last possible minute where the other teams are a little bit more desperate. They're willing to give up more assets. I don't know. It's probably a psychology type of thing. Maybe it also serves the fan base of the team, right? So, Jets fans, if they would have traded Breece Hall in week 2, can they sell tickets, right? Are they going to be able to sell tickets to games? So Breece Hall, should we trade him in fantasy football, man? His strength of schedule, if he stays on the Jets, is pretty tough. It's a 2-star strength of schedule. I have him at about like RB15 rest of the season. Regardless, right? If he gets traded, he's going to fly up. But if he stays on the Jets, coming out of the bye week, there's some difficult matchups, man. Cleveland right away. That's a tough one. New England, also very tough, guys. And then, looking at the rest of the season, Atlanta, Baltimore, like Miami. Okay, Miami's probably a good one, but are they going to be in winning game script very often? And if they're going to be in losing game scripts, is he going to keep getting, 21 opportunities where he's just busting off fat chunk runs? So I don't know. But let's talk about expected fantasy points, guys. This is a chart that I love using where I want to find value. I basically look at who's expected to score a lot and who's kind of unfulfilling on those expectations, right? So we see that Breece Hall down here at number 17. He is the 17th ranked running back when it comes to expected points. And we see the entire season, he's yet to really break 16 expected fantasy points. So even last week wasn't one of his highest weeks when it comes to expected fantasy points. He only had 13 expected, and he scores 30 fantasy points. So he was really outperforming. I just want to show you guys about expected fantasy points. When we look at kind of the differential, like which players are exceeding their expected fantasy points, it's all the good running backs, right? It's Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Gibbs, Bijan, Jacobs, Achane. Like, it's all the running backs that are just talented, right? They're over exceeding kind of the volume that they're getting, if that makes any sense. And then when we look at it on the opposite, it's all the bad running backs, the inefficient ones, right? Alvin Kamara, Chase Brown, fucking rest in peace. Michael Carter, Jerome Ford. It's all the guys you'd expect, right? They're underperforming kind of their volume and how many expected points they should be getting. But let's now have a quick look at some of the trades that have went down. These are real trades based on, again, fantasycalc.com. You guys can go check it out. Really dope resource just to see kind of like a trade database, trending players. That's kind of where I got most of these names, is trending players on fantasy calc. Breece Hall for T. Higgins. Again, I think I'd take the Hall side no matter what. That's really selling high on Higgins and kind of buying Breece Hall at a little bit of a discount, right? Because if Breece Hall gets traded, you're probably super happy about that one. And even if he doesn't, I do think he outscores T. Higgins. Jefferson and Breece Hall for Saquon and Sutton. This is one where you're really improving your wide receiver for a potentially a horizontal move at running back. I mean, Breece Hall for Saquon, both of them coming off really big games. Both of them haven't really been good the whole season, but I do think Breece Hall has a better chance at breaking out, right? Again, if he gets traded. Breece Hall for Odunze, that's a tough one. I mean, Odunze, I'm kind of worried that the floor will just break under Odunze any given week, man, where Caleb Williams just looks like a fart. So in that situation, it's like, I think you might want to lean Breece Hall, but I'm not sure. I guess if you really need a wide receiver, we have a fucking 7-player trade over here. I'm not even going to look at through. I don't even have enough time for that one. All right, Breece Hall for Genty. It's kind of a wash. They both have tough schedules. They're both on bad teams. I guess you go with Genty because he's the newer thing. He's the new hotness. Maybe the Breece Hall for Wilson. Again, it's very speculative. You're not going to be super happy if Breece Hall doesn't get traded. I do think Garrett Wilson would probably be better than him rest of the season. You know, I mean, I usually take the 3 for the side that gets the 2 players, you know, ETN and Jefferson. I'm just a little worried about ETN there, you know, so that's why I probably lean the left side. If you're really like starving for depth, you make a trade like this where you get like 3 serviceable guys, with RJ Harvey having a chance to maybe being a little bit better down the stretch. That's kind of bait though. I feel like RJ Harvey is probably going to be stuck behind Dobbins the whole season. Next name on this list is Alvin Kamara, man. Dude, how far we've come from that 7 touchdown Christmas special. Just a little anecdote, man. That 7 touchdown Christmas special, I had Alvin Kamara. I was in the fantasy championship. I was on cloud 9, dude. It was Christmas night. I had an extra eggnog, maybe a little extra rum in that eggnog. And that weekend was the worst weekend of my life, dude. I ended up losing that fantasy championship game on Monday night to Stephon Diggs, who goes for 35 points. I lose by 1 point, dude. It was the absolute worst thing that's ever happened to me. Let's focus up, dude. I need to fire my intern. A window appears here to trade Kamara because, you know, we got Kendrick Miller going down. Then he has a bad game against the Bucks, who are a fantastic run-stopping defense, man. Dude, Vita Vea, he is the Hulk. He's one of the best run blockers in the league. This is just something that can happen when you play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially if you're in a losing game script. You just cannot run the ball on them. Since week 4, he's been essentially unusable, guys. Let's look at this game log, dude. He was getting fat usage in week 2. He was coming off of 27 total opportunities, looking great. He only had 13 fantasy points, doesn't get into the end zone, but we love the usage. And we just see a slow death of Alvin Kamara, dude. Just less and less touches every week. Obviously, we get Kendrick Miller emerging, but then he goes down for the season. So I don't know what we do here, man. Devin Neal comes in, didn't really do much. He had about 3 targets, didn't really run the ball again. No, they weren't really running the ball to begin with. Then let's have a quick look, guys, at expected fantasy points. Look, I don't love the diminishing expected points. As I mentioned early on, it was looking good. But since week 4, 17, 14, 12, 9, 5. I mean, shit, dude. By week 10, he's going to have like -3 if this rate continues. You know, he's still number 12 on the season in expected fantasy points. And we do know he is talented. He's only 30, right? So I don't really know, dude. I don't understand his usage on this Kellen Moore team, I'll be honest, dude. I don't understand why he's so underutilized. He's not getting targets. There's like a little 3 or 4 game stretch where he was getting targets, but didn't really do much with them, dude. It's very Calvin Kamara. It's very Alvin Kamara-esque. So I don't see it changing, man. I'm going to be honest, dude. Like, when we look at his game log, dude, the Rams up next. You might have 2 fantasy points against the Rams. Right, Carolina, okay, that's a decent one, but I don't know. Are the Saints going to be in a winning game script there against Carolina? Then you got to hold them through a bye week. Then you got Atlanta. I mean, you kind of got this Miami game circled, but can we survive till that game? Are we out of the playoffs by the time that game comes, right? So that's why it's a little bit of a tough one for me. Like, you know, I love Kamara as a talent, but when it comes to holding him, I think this might be the window to sell him. So let's just have a quick look at some of the trades, man. We'll see if we can find anything that looks of interest to us. Hunter and ETN for Kamara. I'll take the ETN Hunter side there. Kamara and Mark Andrews for Addison. I'll take Addison there as well, dude. I mean, Addison has been like a top 15 guy since he returned. 5-person trade here. Kamara, London, Williams for Adams and Warren. Funnily enough, I think I take the Adams and Warren side. Just Devontae Adams, you know he's going to continue getting so many red zone targets. Jalen Warren, one of the best rest of season schedules. He is the lead back there. So Jameson Williams, I'm never going to want to really start him and feel confident. It could change after the bye week, but Drake London seems very, very, very out of his hands how he produces, right? Like, he's great. He's fantastic, but it's not really up to him. It is not his decision whether he's going to have a good fantasy day or not, which is, I guess, all wide receivers, but seems extra for Drake London. Kamara for Shakir. I guess that's kind of a wash. I guess I probably lean Kamara there just and pray that it turns around for Kamara. Kamara and Sutton for Nico and Charbonnet. Probably stay with the Nico side, just best player in the deal, right? You also get Charbonnet, who's just a vulture. Benson and Kamara for Quinshon Judkins. I mean, I have Judkins, and I would personally make that trade today if I could. I'd take Kamara and Benson over Quinshon. I love Quinshon Judkins. In any game that they're in it, it's neutral or they're winning. Essentially, that's the thing. When they're losing, he doesn't even see the field. And then he's got the shoulder injury now. So they say he's day-to-day. He's probably going to play after the bye week. But, you know, that's one of those trades where you actually get somebody to start this week if you're desperate. So I get it. You know, I get it. A 23-player trade here. I'm not going to look at that shit, dude. Kamara and A.J. Brown for Dubs and Walker. Kamara and A.J. Brown for Dubs and Walker. Holy shit. I mean, Fantasy Calc has the Kamara and A.J. Brown side winning by a landslide here. But, dude, it shouldn't be as close as it is. But I do think Kenneth Walker has a better chance to turn around than Kamara. And then, I mean, Dubs, yeah. Is he going to be as good as AJ Brown rest of the season? Probably not. But dude, I mean, thus far, I think Dubs might be matching him or even outproducing AJ Brown. I don't know. I guess you probably go with the studs. You probably go with Brown and Kamara at that point, right? But that was a closer one than I expected. Overall, guys, my takeaway: trade him high. This might be the window to trade Kamara high. As you guys saw, some of those trades I'm talking about. Jalen Warren, right? One of those good names to kind of target if you're a Kamara trader. Jordan Addison, Travis Etienne, Travis Hunter. Those are some names, man, I'd be targeting. Those are guys with a lot more upside the rest of the season. Derrick Henry is the next one. Dude, everybody and their mom's talking about trading for Derrick Henry. Probably no one wants to trade Derrick Henry. I get it. But I want to talk about it because I do think there are some leagues with some people who are just down bad. They're losing. They don't have any depth. They need depth. They have a guy like Henry. You might be able to swoop him from them. Check out this tweet from Ian Hartitz, man. September, Derrick Henry's yards per carry, 4.3. 4.7 in October. 4.9 in November, 5.2 in December, 5.4 in January. Winter is indeed coming for Derrick Henry. He is a guy that as the season goes on, he's just a beast, dude. He's a monster, man. He just starts to wear on teams. He is the Yeti, like the fantasy footballers like to say. The Ravens in Week 9 have a 29-point implied team total. That is the absolute highest in the NFL on the slate. You guys can see here, man. They're expected to score 29.5 or 29.2 points, more than the Rams, Packers, Lions, Cowboys. Lamar Jackson is back. That's essentially what it comes down to, dude. Lamar Jackson is back. We see Derrick Henry last game without Lamar, 21 touches, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns, dude. He hasn't been the most efficient most of the season. That first week, he looked phenomenal. He was efficient. He was just gashing the Buffalo Bills. But since then, it's kind of been tough sledding, even with Lamar, those couple games that Lamar was still there. And I will say, man, the Ravens have a difficult strength of schedule, including in the playoff schedule. It gets tough, man. There's a couple good matchups, obviously. Miami this week, really good. Minnesota, still pretty good. Cleveland, that's a very tough one. Jets, Cincy, okay, that's fine. Pittsburgh, that's fine. Cincinnati, again, that's really fine. But then we get to the playoffs, man. And in week 16 against New England, I don't want to play running backs against New England, dude, or Green Bay. So you got those two matchups in the playoffs that are kind of brutal. Let's look at some trades here. Derrick Henry for DK. I'll take Henry for sure. Derrick Henry and T. Higgins for Rashi and Chase Brown. I think I'll take the Rashi Rice and Chase Brown side on that one. I'll be honest, dude, because Rashi Rice right now is looking like a league-winning player. If you have Rashi Rice, congrats. Derrick Henry and T. Higgins for Ricky Pearsall and Jamar Chase. I'll take the Chase and Pearsall side easily. Henry for Nico Collins and Wandale. If you're really running back needy, I think I'd do that. I mean, it's essentially Nico for Henry. Wandale he's a good player. He's a nice little piece to have, but Derrick Henry could just be a game changer at rest of the season. Just winning game scripts. They're going to be scoring a lot of points with Lamar Jackson. I do think you go with Henry there. Henry, Moore, Higgins for Bucky and Calvin. I mean, give me the Henry Higgins Moore side, right? You get 3 assets. You can just move Higgins and Moore for someone else if you needed to. 6 people, I'm not doing that one. 1 for 3. I mean, 1 for 3 trades are always kind of weird. Goddard, Diggs, Marks for Henry. I think I'll probably take the Marks, Diggs, Goddard side there. It's if you need starters, people to put in your lineup, those are all 3 guys that you can start every week. Diggs and Henry for Benson, Lamb, and Stevenson. Yeah, probably go with whatever team gets CeeDee Lamb at that point. You also get Benson and Stevenson to kind of piece together your running back position, so probably take the right side there. Derrick Henry for Brian Thomas, Mawarian Hampton, and Nick Chubb. Holy shit, dude. Essentially, it's Hampton and Thomas for Henry. If you're like 7-1, you probably go with Hampton and Thomas. But if you need wins, like absolutely this week, and you're a little bit worried about Brian Thomas's role coming out of the bye, then yeah, I'd make that trade. But otherwise, yeah, you got to stick with Brian Thomas and Hampton on that one. And we'll just wrap it up here by looking at the expected fantasy points. We see Derrick Henry, dude, kind of tough to even find him. Where is he? Number 22 in the NFL in expected fantasy points. He had a nice little couple of games here scattered. I mean, honestly, it's kind of crazy that in week 1, he only had 9.9 expected. But that's the week that he scored 28 fantasy points. So, you know, the past 3 weeks, he's actually been pretty good. 13, 19, 16 expected fantasy points. So, you know, that's not bad. It looks like some ascension. As I mentioned, dude, as the months go on, Derrick Henry only gets better, dude. He is infinite. All right, dude, let's speed this up. We got Chase Brown next. People in my Discord were saying that they dropped him to waivers. They're saying he's trash. He's bad. And look, understandably, he was. He was all those things. He was bad. He was pretty unusable for like 4 games there from week 2 to essentially week 5. He was pretty unusable. I mean, even in week 6 against Green Bay, that wasn't great. But I guess Joe Flacco is Pepto-Bismol, dude. He is ibuprofen for fantasy players. He's him, dude. But in all seriousness, actually, the actual reason that I think the Bengals are turning around, dude, just look at the schedule, man. Look at this ridiculous schedule early on. Cleveland right out the gate. As we now know, Cleveland's one of the best run-stopping teams, right? Jacksonville, they weren't bad at the time. Minnesota, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. Finally, dude, we get the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 7, and he looks fine, right? We get Joe Flacco, another week with the team. he looked pretty good, dude. Even in week 6 against Green Bay, to get 4.67 yards per carry, that is not half bad against a really good run defense, man. And then, week 7, we obviously get the little tiny breakout where he doesn't get a touchdown, but he goes, 11 for 108, look great. They just refused to feed him the ball at the end of the game. I didn't understand it. At the end of the day, guys, keep one thing in mind here: increasing workload every week. Since essentially week 5, he's gotten more and more work, right? Like 11 touches, then 15, and then again, another 15. Things are going to turn around for him. They're going to continue getting better. The schedule is one of the best in the NFL rest of the season. And the thought process here on why I think you can be able to buy him, why you should trade for him, is that people who have Chase Brown, they're probably holding a grudge, man. They have a sour taste in their mouth. They're probably down bad right now. I mean, you drafted this guy in the 2nd round, right? So you're probably like, 2-6, maybe 3-5 if you're lucky. Fortunately for me, I traded for him in about week 6, so I got in at the right time. I kind of invested when he was a penny stock, essentially. And looking at expected fantasy points, our boy Chase Brown is number 9 in the NFL, dude, on the season. He's right behind Saquon Barkley, ahead of Kyron. Those first couple weeks kind of helped him, but he only has 1 week this season where he is actually under 10 expected fantasy points, guys. Week 6 was the only one. That was the one against Green Bay. That was the one where he actually had a decent yard per carry clip. So Chase Brown has been slugging along, dude, just being a decently involved player at the end of the day. Even in those bad weeks where he was scoring like 7-4, 8-8, 7 fantasy points, he was still getting the expected, man. He was still getting the work. He had 8 targets in week 5 against Detroit. Didn't really do much with them. Chase Brown has just been quietly a decently involved running back. He's an RB2 on volume alone. Now, what I want to see, guys, against Chicago, I want to see him build momentum going into the bye week. I want to see him get another like 12 to 16 fantasy points in this game. Hopefully get us another touchdown. That way he goes into the bye week with the team thinking, all right, Chase Brown is back. We've established him. Let's get him going the second half of the season with some really good matchups. They get Pittsburgh, a great matchup. Unfortunately, New England, which is a tough one, but then Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, dude, in the playoffs. Guys, the playoff schedule for Chase Brown, we got Baltimore, Miami, Arizona. Music to my ears, dude. I think Chase Brown's going to be a really good player for a lot of fantasy owners moving forward. Let's look at some of the trades here, guys. We got Rashee Rice and Chase Brown for Derrick Henry and T. Higgins. I'll take the Chase Brown side and Rashee Rice. I think we already talked about that trade. Look, Pittman and Chase Brown. I think I take the Pittman and Chase Brown side. I know Ferguson, what he can be. He's like, I think they're tight end 2 on the season, but I just devalue tight ends personally, man. I just feel like I'd rather play the roulette game on the waiver wire. You can always find like a random touchdown on the waiver wire from a tight end. Olave, we know what he's capable of, but I think Pittman is just a little bit more consistent, I would say. And then, JD5, if you really need it, like if you're really down bad at quarterback and tight end, then you probably lean the JD5 Ferguson side. But I'm just someone who overvalues running backs, wide receivers, so that's why I'll take the side. Brown for Pickens, if you're running back needy, I think that's okay. Brian Thomas for Brown, I think I'd stay with Brian Thomas just because of the upside that Brian Thomas has. But I totally understand if you guys want to get out of Brian Thomas. I'm biased. I have him in my most important league, so I can't throw that toy away just yet. Puka Nacua for Chase Brown and Higgins, obviously the Nacua side. Pickens and Brown for CeeDee Lamb. I think I take CeeDee Lamb side there. Just you're solidifying like a top 5 guy. Lamb and Chase Brown for Tracy and Achane. Interesting. I think I take Lamb and Brown there. This one down here, Khalil Shakir and Chase Brown for Javonte Williams and Jameson Williams. I think I take the Javonte side there, unfortunately. I love Khalil Shakir. I have him and Chase Brown in my most important league, but as you guys can see here on the expected fantasy points chart, he's number 3 in the NFL in expected fantasy points, man. He's yet to have under 14 expected fantasy points. He's just a bona fide top like 7 running back rest of the season. One of the biggest whiffs that we've had in all of fantasy football, dude. Massive L, dude. I'll eat a bag of dicks on that call. I was fading Javonte Williams harder than anyone in all of fantasy. You guys can unsubscribe if you need to. All right, let's wrap this up, guys. Rico Dowdle is the last player to trade for or away. Let's talk about it, guys. So obviously, week 5 and 6, he popped off. He had 30 fantasy points both weeks, over 250 all scrimmage yards, I think both weeks. But I just want to say something, guys. I need to say this. I might be the only person on the internet talking about this. I was a Chuba Hubbard owner, so I was salty, but I don't have Chuba anymore. So there's no more spite or vengeance that I'm out for. I'm just talking objectively here. Rico Dowdle was bad. He was atrocious from weeks 1 to 4. He was absolutely, I couldn't even watch the game. I was so mad because I had Chuba Hubbard. And I'm like, every time Rico Dowdle is in the game, 3 for 12, man, 6 for 9, 10 for 30, 9 for 32. And he just kept getting work. They kept giving him goal line. They kept giving him pass catching. That I didn't understand. Now, to be fair, we see that Jacksonville, they were a good defense early. Atlanta, they were a good defense. New England, good defense. Then Chuba Hubbard gets injured. perfectly in time for Miami and Dallas, two of the worst run defenses in the NFL. We now know this. And he pops off, right? So poor Chuba Hubbard, dude. He had to watch essentially his job get taken from him in two of the best matchups in all of football, dude. I don't know if Chuba Hubbard is a fantasy football enjoyer. I don't know if he watches fantasy, but do you think they know? Do you guys think the players actually know? Like, dude, like think about Jake Browning right now, right? Jake Browning had to go up against like some dogs, dude, some straight killers. Let's look at who Browning had to play in those weeks. Browning had to play against Minnesota, Denver, and Detroit. And then Flacco came in for the Green Bay game. To be fair, Flacco looked pretty good in the Green Bay game, which are also a good defense. But Jake Browning is sitting here like, dude, I had to play against Denver in one of my matchups. I got benched. I lost my job. I'm probably never going to see the football field again. While Joe Flacco comes in, he gets to play against, you know, Pittsburgh, the Jets, Chicago. Like, I don't know. I just think that maybe Chuba. Do you think the players know that type of shit where they're like, bro, what the fuck? I had to play against, you know, Atlanta, New England, Arizona, Jacksonville, while, you know, Rico Dowdle gets Miami and Dallas. But anyway, that's my little rant, dude. I just thought this was a funny graphic. It's this is Dave Canales, dude. Chuba Hubbard 2 yards per carry or Rico Dowdle 5 yards per carry. It's like, which button do I press? So let's get serious, guys. We need to figure out Rico Dowdle, whether he's going to take over the backfield, whether it's going to be a split. This was a tweet. This is from Ari Mayerov. Panthers head coach David Canales on his running back situation. Chuba Hubbard has meant a lot to this team, past tense. I don't know what that means. We wanted to give him an opportunity following his calf injury, but we just can't ignore the fact that Rico has been exceptional. The tone suggests Dowdle will get a heavier workload. Some people see that the opposite. They see it like they're loyal to Chuba Hubbard, that they're not just going to dump him because of an injury, that they want to get him up to speed, and that you can't lose your job to injury. Let me know what you guys think, dude. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you guys think that this means they're going to give more work to Rico, or that they are going to stay loyal to Chuba? And just to help us make sense of it even a little bit more, this is Joe Person on Twitter. After trying to make a balanced backfield work, Panthers' Dave Canales seems ready to ride the Rico Dowdle Express. It's the right call, and Canales won't worry about making everyone happy. Now, this is a quote from Canales here. This is from the article on the New York Times. I have to make sure I keep it about football. Now, what does that mean? Now listen, I wish I can open this article on New York Times, but it's currently behind a paywall, and I have one Patreon subscriber, so I can't pay for New York Times. Maybe one of you guys has it. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Does this mean, you know, this tweet combined with this one here, does this mean that they're going to give Rico Dowdle the 60% workload, 70% workload? They're going to make a football decision, right? He's saying, you know, I need to keep it about football, not about loyalty or any of that. I don't know what it's referencing. All right, let's look at expected fantasy points. 21st is Rico Dowdle. As I mentioned, dude, bad the entire season except for the two best games on the schedule, right? Dallas and Miami. Otherwise, he's under 10 expected fantasy points every game. Look, he's better than Chuba at this point. His yards per carry is great. Is he a really good running back? Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe these two games were more indicative of his skill, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, dude. Maybe I just sound like a salty bitch at this point. Let's look at some trades, though. If you guys actually want to buy Rico Dowdle or sell him, Rico for Isaiah Pacheco, fuck no. I'm taking Rico. Rico for Travis Hunter and Stafford. I'm taking Travis Hunter and Stafford there, to be honest. Travis Hunter, I do think, has like a chance to be like the #1 rookie wide receiver rest of the season. The way the organization's talking about him going into the bye week after that Rams game where Travis Hunter did have 20 points, I think Travis Hunter might be a league winner here, guys. Rome Odunze and Rico for Harrison and Judkins. I think I probably take Rico and Odunze there. Just I'll be a little bit happier with Odunze over Marvin, and then Rico is somebody that I'll just be able to put in my lineup and just see what happens. Rico, Pittman, Dobbins for Keon and Henry. I'll take the Rico, Dobbins, Pittman side. You get 3 startable players for 1, essentially. Harrison Jr. and Charbonnet for Rico. I think I take the Harrison Jr. Charbonnet side. I essentially see Charbonnet and Rico as pretty similar at the moment. I mean, something like I said, Rico has to take over the backfield for him to really be above Charbonnet. 6-person trade. I don't got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Brian Thomas, Hampton, and Rico for Kyron. Probably take the Hampton, Rico, Brian Thomas side there. You just get, you know, when Hampton is back, if he's back, he's going to be probably the same level as Kyron Williams. Addison for Rico, I'll take Addison there. He's just, you know, he's yet to have less than, I think, 13 fantasy points any game. Dowdle and White for ETN. I'll probably take Dowdle and White there, to be honest, dude. I mean, White will be probably one of the best handcuffs, and Dowdle and ETN could go pound for pound, man. I think there's a chance Bashal Tunin sees a lot more work coming out of the bye week. That does it for the video, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. It was a little bit of a long one here. We rambled, we ranted. Hopefully you guys are still here. Hopefully you stuck around. If you guys need a second opinion on some trades, man, Discord link down below. Dope community. We're talking about every day, dude. We're helping each other. We're doing polls. We're helping each other with sit starts. It's not just me rambling to you guys, but I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.